The moment I hit the floor, everything became a blur of pain, light, and the faint hum of machines I didn't understand. My arm throbbed with a sharp, burning ache that radiated across my chest, and my vision flickered like a broken hollow display. 1 second, I was standing on the observation platform of the alien outpost, staring down the unpredictable flux of energy conduits, and the next, I was sprawled across the metallic floor, gasping for breath as if the air itself had betrayed me. Then she appeared, tall, impossibly poised, ears angled sharply as if attuned to frequencies beyond human perception, eyes flickering violet in the low lighting of the chamber. You can't be real," she said, her voice a low mixture of shock and disbelief, as if the concept of a human surviving such injury was absurd even to her advanced understanding of life. I tried to smile through the haze of pain which probably looked more like a grimace and coughed weakly. "Well, here I am," I managed, my voice rasping. "Surprise." Her ears twitched in that subtle, precise way I had already learned, was a sign she was simultaneously processing and calculating. "Your physiology, it defies everything I know. This injury, the damage, you should not persist." She crouched slightly, her long, elegant fingers hovering over my chest, scanning with instruments that glowed faintly blue, sending pulses of light into my skin. "It is impossible." "Impossible, huh?" I breathed, trying to keep the humor alive. "I'm full of surprises, or maybe just stubbornness. Stubbornness works too." My words made her pause, a faint quiver of amusement passing across her features, just enough for me to catch it. Her fingers pressed lightly against a glowing panel on her wrist device, and the machines around us adjusted, streams of data and energy flowing in patterns I could not comprehend. "You breathe, circulate, maintain consciousness. Your survival is beyond calculation." I groaned, attempting to shift slightly, only to wince. "Yeah, beyond calculation sounds about right. I think physics and biology are having a meeting right now, discussing whether to give up on me." She inclined her head, ears flicking sharply. "Humor despite trauma. This is unusual, yet you exhibit resilience. Fascinating." I tried to sit upright, chest tight, vision still blurry, and muttered, "Fascinating, huh?" I was hoping for something like inspiring or astonishing. But hey, fascinating works too. The alien queen studied me, adjusting a floating holographic interface, sending tendrils of light and data spiraling toward my body, which reacted with faint pulses. "This organism should not continue functioning. And yet it does. You adapt. You endure. Curiosity compels me to observe further." I squinted, struggling to focus, and offered what might have been a weak smirk. "Observation, good. I like being watched, especially by someone who looks like they could crush me in one hand. Makes me feel motivated." Her lips twitched subtly, almost imperceptibly. "Motivation acknowledged, yet your survival is precarious. Immediate intervention is required." She extended her hands, and the medical apparatus around us glowed brighter, streams of healing nanites flowing toward my wounds, forming a lattice of energy and organic reconstruction. I flinched as they seared faintly against nerve endings. "Ah, excellent," I gasped. "Nothing like a light sizzling sensation to wake you up." "You speak despite severe trauma," she remarked, ears angled forward, a rhythm forming in their movement as if she were tracking something invisible. "Your vitality is remarkable, your humor persists, adaptation is accelerating." I attempted a weak laugh, which probably came out as a strangled cough. "Adaptation accelerating. Sounds like my job description for surviving alien medical tech." She watched intently, adjusting the flow of nanites and pulsing energy, her attention unwavering. "Your body rejects some standard protocols, yet accepts others. The balance is unprecedented. You are an anomaly, and yet somehow you endure." I blinked, squinting at her in a haze of pain and exhaustion. "Endure? Yep, that's the name of the game. Also, side effects include random groaning and making bad jokes at awkward moments." Her violet eyes narrowed slightly, ears flicking in measured patterns as she considered me. Awkward humor persists. It is an asset. Perhaps it enables resilience. Perhaps it aids in cognitive recovery. You demonstrate qualities beyond mere survival. You intrigue me. I tried to sit upright again, this time more successfully, though leaning against a console for support. Intrigue, I was hoping for astonish or maybe bewilder. But intrigue works too, glad to be helpful. She studied me silently for a moment, the soft hum of machinery surrounding us like a low tide. Then she extended her hand, not to touch, but to gesture toward a floating platform nearby. You will remain under observation. Your recovery will be guided. Yet your presence challenges understanding. Your resilience is significant. And your existence is extraordinary. I coughed and managed a weak grin. Extraordinary, got it. Noted. I'll add it to my resume. Human, surviving against all odds, extraordinary and surprisingly stubborn. Her ears flicked sharply, a rhythm I now recognized as her version of amusement. Stubbornness, acknowledged, it may be beneficial. For now you remain alive. Observation continues and you will endure. I exhaled, letting the nanites continue their work, feeling the first real sense of warmth in my body since the injury. Endure. Yes, got it. Also, maybe try not to kill me with your curiosity. I like being alive while you study me. Her gaze remained unwavering, calculating, and yet there was a subtle shift. Her posture softened just slightly, ears tilting forward as though acknowledging that my presence, my survival, and yes, even my humor had begun to carve a place in her perception. Observation will continue, and your anomaly is recorded, for now survival is permitted. I chuckled weakly, feeling the alien tech hum gently against my skin, stabilizing my heartbeat and repairing tissue at a molecular level. Permitted, huh? Glad I got the Queen's blessing. That should really help with morale. She inclined her head once, ears flicking in what I could only describe as a subtle acknowledgement of approval. Morale is noted. And human, you are remarkable. You endure despite impossibility. I exhaled slowly, letting the mixture of relief, pain, and disbelief wash over me. Somehow, against every rational expectation, I had survived. Against every calculation she had made, I had endured. And in the quiet hum of alien machinery, under the scrutiny of violet eyes and long, alert ears, I realized that this was only the beginning, not just of my recovery, but of something much larger, something unpredictable, and something extraordinary. The chamber's lights shifted gently as I regained more control over my body, the alien queen watching with an intensity that never wavered. Every flick of her long ears, every micro-expression in her violet eyes, seemed to catalog my every breath, heartbeat, and gesture. The initial shock of my survival had evolved into a curious, almost meticulous observation, like a scientist studying a specimen that consistently refused to conform to expectation. I tried to sit upright without grimacing, but my body protested, muscles stiff and joints screaming in protest. "You push too soon," she said, her voice calm but tinged with reprimand. "Adaptation must be measured. Impulse may end in failure." I forced a chuckle through the ache. Measured, right. Noted. But if I wait too long, I might turn into one of your lab samples, so moving seems safer. Her ears twitched sharply at my joke, a subtle acknowledgement I had begun to interpret as the closest she came to amusement. Your humor persists. Perhaps it is essential. Floating medical platforms and holographic instruments hovered around me, responding to her gestures with delicate precision. Streams of glowing nanites wove through my veins, repairing torn tissues and stabilizing organs in ways that felt alien and astonishing. "Careful, careful," I muttered, watching them like tiny, diligent workers. "Not that I don't appreciate being fixed, but I'd like to keep all my limbs attached." "You maintain humor, even when physiologically compromised." "Fascinating," she said, tilting her head. Her long ears flicked forward as she adjusted the flow of energy around me, and the nanites pulsed with increased intensity, repairing microscopic damage I hadn't realized existed. Your resilience is unprecedented. I must understand your processes. I squirmed slightly, wincing as a sharp pulse of energy flowed through my chest. Understand me. Oh sure, just take your time. I'm very cooperative as a human-shaped science experiment. My joke earned a very faint twitch of her lips, which I counted as a moral victory. For hours, or maybe minutes, it was hard to track in the soft glow of alien lights. We worked through this strange routine. She directed, I complied, and somewhere between my attempts to explain human quirks and her adjustments of the nanite streams, we began to find a rhythm. I learned the subtle signs of her approval, a tilt of the head, a precise flick of the ears, or the way her violet eyes lingered on a task. I realized that I was not only being healed, but also observed, analyzed, and, somehow, respected. At one point I tried to roll over and the sensors beeped in protest. Do not attempt movement, she said sharply. Your strength is returning, but recklessness may compromise recovery. I grinned weakly. Reckless. Now I call it enthusiastic. Adds flavor to healing, don't you think? Her ears twitched sharply, and for a fleeting moment I thought I saw amusement ripple across her expression. Enthusiasm is noted. Perhaps it aids neurological engagement. As the alien technology continued its work, I began to notice details about her I had missed in the haze of initial shock. The subtle arch of her shoulders, the way her fingers moved with deliberate grace, and the sharp intelligence reflected in every angle of her face. She looked almost human, yet the long ears, the violet irises, and the faintly luminescent skin set her apart, marking her as something far beyond my understanding. And yet, in this chamber, watching her work, I felt a strange kinship, a recognition that we were both adapting to an unusual circumstance. Hours later, she allowed me to sit fully upright, supporting myself against one of the floating platforms. My muscles protested and I groaned audibly. Wow, I think I just found a new definition for soreness. You endure, she said, her voice calm, measured. Endurance is impressive. You recover faster than expected. Your physiology adapts to stress and injury in ways I cannot fully comprehend. I let out a shaky laugh. Comprehension is overrated anyway. I like being a mystery, keeps life interesting. She tilted her head and the faintest flicker of amusement passed across her features, ears flicking forward in subtle cadence. Mystery is acknowledged, yet curiosity compels observation. Your capabilities are intriguing human. The hours passed, blending into a rhythm of repair, conversation, and awkward humor. I poked at floating instruments with tentative fingers, accidentally triggering a small pulse of light that made her ears twitch sharply. Oops. Sorry, I said, raising my hands defensively. I promise I'm more careful when I'm fully awake, maybe. You disrupt minimally, she said, voice measured. Yet observation of error is enlightening. Your behavior reveals adaptation strategies and cognitive patterns. I smirked despite the ache. Enlightening, huh? I'll add that to my growing list of superpowers. Surviving impossible injuries, making alien queens mildly fascinated, and now being enlightening. She adjusted a holographic display, scanning my vitals and neuromuscular responses. Superpowers are irrelevant. You demonstrate resilience, adaptability, and humor. These are qualities that facilitate recovery. They are remarkable. I blinked at her, feeling a strange warmth in the midst of my physical pain. Remarkable, you say? Well, that's a step up from impossible, which is what I heard yesterday. Her gaze held mine, piercing and deliberate. Impossible is a limitation of understanding. You transcend limitation. This compels interest. Observation will continue until adaptation stabilizes. I leaned back slightly, letting the nanites hum through my body, repairing, stabilizing, and enhancing. Observation, stabilizing, got it. I feel like I'm in a very fancy, very painful spa with a queen who's very serious about science. A faint twitch of her lips suggested she appreciated the joke, or perhaps merely tolerated it. Your levity persists. It complements recovery. Humor may be beneficial to cognitive and emotional stability. Observation confirms efficacy. For the first time, I allowed myself to relax, feeling the rhythm of recovery and the quiet fascination of the alien queen create a strange sense of companionship. In that chamber, amid hums, pulses, and streams of alien light, I realized that survival was no longer just physical. It was becoming an exchange of humor, curiosity, resilience, and respect. And as I caught her eyes again, violet and attentive, I knew that this strange bond was only beginning, growing stronger with every pulse, every joke, every defiance of expectation. "You endure beyond prediction," she said softly, her ears flicking, "and your presence influences perception and understanding." I grinned, pain and awe mingling. Influencing perception, huh? I always knew surviving against all odds would make me famous someday. Just didn't expect it to be with a queen. Her gaze softened ever so slightly. Perhaps the human is extraordinary in ways unforeseen. Observation continues. Recovery is incomplete, yet connection is forming. I let out a quiet laugh, the sound a mixture of relief, humor, and disbelief. Connection, huh? Well, I'll do my best not to mess that up too badly. Her ears flicked sharply, eyes glinting faintly. Mess may occur. Adaptation and endurance persist despite error. And so in that chamber of alien light and pulsing energy, amid pain, humor, and disbelief, our strange, improbable bond deepened. We were no longer simply healer and patient, queen and human, observer and anomaly. We were something more, something fragile and astonishing, growing in the quiet spaces between laughter, pain, and the impossible. The chamber vibrated faintly as the alien queen moved with precise, deliberate steps across the polished floor, her long ears twitching like twin sensors attuned to frequencies I couldn't perceive. I had spent days under her watchful gaze, surviving injuries that should have ended me, learning to navigate her alien technology, and gradually earning something that resembled respect, or at least tolerance. The final test, though, was unannounced, as all the best tests seemed to be. A sudden alarm pulsed through the room, and holographic warnings sprang up around us, bathing the chamber in urgent red light. "You are expected to engage," she said, her violet eyes fixed on me, calculating, assessing. "Your capabilities will now be fully examined." I groaned, stretching stiff limbs that still ached from the recovery process. "Engage, huh?" You know, I was hoping for a quiet day of lying in a glowing puddle of alien nanites. But sure, why not test me while I'm feeling human-shaped but mostly broken? Her lips twitched subtly, a flicker of amusement or at least acknowledgement. "Your humor persists. This is noted. Yet urgency requires focus." A holographic simulation erupted in front of me, a facsimile of the corridor where the earlier attack had occurred. Alien drones, sleek and lethal, materialized in pulses of light, their motions precise and coordinated. My pulse quickened, not with fear, but with the strange exhilaration that came from finally being active again, from proving the resilience that had already astonished her. "You are capable of adaptation," she said softly, her gaze sharp and unwavering. "But observation is required. Survive and demonstrate understanding of environment and threat." I smirked, rubbing my still sore shoulder. Survive and demonstrate, huh? Sounds like every day on Earth, just with more lasers and fewer health inspectors. The drones advanced, and I moved, limbs trembling but responsive, reacting to the holographic threats with a mixture of instinct, improvisation, and humor that had become second nature. I ducked a pulse of light, rolled across the metallic floor, and sent a floating console spinning into one of the approaching enemies. "Heads up!" I shouted, grinning despite the tension. Human ingenuity in action. Her ears twitched sharply, and for the first time I thought I saw her expression soften beyond mere calculation. Your improvisation is effective, unexpected, yet precise. Adaptation is remarkable. I continued to engage, dodging, weaving, and countering in ways that would have seemed impossible even to myself days earlier. The alien queen observed silently, her hands occasionally gesturing to adjust the simulation, but largely allowing me to demonstrate what I had learned, not just survival, but observation, anticipation, and clever improvisation. You endure beyond all prediction, she murmured, her tone softening. And your approach reveals cognitive flexibility and resilience unparalleled. I landed a final move, causing the last of the holographic drones to collapse in a harmless explosion of light. Panting, I straightened, wobbling slightly but victorious. All done. Survived, thrived, and somehow avoided being vaporized. That's a win, right? Her violet eyes studied me, sharp and calculating, before she finally stepped closer. Her presence was commanding, yet there was an almost imperceptible warmth, an acknowledgement that went beyond protocol. You are extraordinary. Your survival is validated. Your resilience exceeds expectation, and your humor has persisted throughout. I laughed, wincing slightly at the movement. Extraordinary, huh? Well, I'll take it. Surviving impossible injuries, making alien queens intrigued, and now extraordinary. I'm racking up quite the resume. Her ears flicked, a subtle sign I had learned to read. Your levity is beneficial. It aids both recovery and adaptation. Furthermore, it establishes a connection that surpasses mere observation. I felt a strange warmth in the acknowledgement, a feeling that our bond had evolved from disbelief to fascination, from clinical curiosity to something resembling respect, maybe even mutual regard. Connection, huh? Well, I'm glad we could collaborate on that. Teamwork makes the impossible work. She regarded me for a long moment, her violet eyes steady and intense, then spoke softly. Your presence has influenced perception and understanding. You have demonstrated the limits of resilience, ingenuity, and courage. This is unprecedented, and yet undeniable. I leaned back, exhaling slowly, letting the adrenaline fade and the strange comfort of accomplishment settle in. Unprecedented and undeniable, got it. I'll file that under life achievements. For the first time since the injury, I felt a sense of completion. The tests were done. The observation had revealed not only my resilience, but also my capacity to adapt, improvise, and even influence the alien queen's understanding of life. What had begun as a bewildering accident, me, surviving the impossible, had transformed into a bridge between two very different beings, a silent acknowledgement of shared experience, curiosity, and unexpected connection. Her ears twitched once more, and she extended a hand, not as a healer, not as a queen commanding submission, but as a gesture of recognition. Human, you have endured, and your presence is validated. Connection is established. I took her hand, surprising even myself with how natural it felt. Validated, connection, got it. And I promise I'll try not to get myself killed again, at least not while you're around. A soft ripple passed through her posture, subtle but unmistakable. Survival is ongoing, yet understanding and connection are achieved. You have grown as has perception of humanity. I smiled, feeling the weight of exhaustion and the lightness of accomplishment in equal measure. Growth, connection, and mutual understanding. I'd say that's a pretty good day for a human and a queen. She regarded me one last time, violet eyes steady, ears flicking in a rhythm that I had learned to read as approval, perhaps even fondness. Your journey is complete for now. Yet your presence will continue to influence understanding. This is extraordinary, human. I exhaled, letting the tension of weeks of pain, observation, and trial dissolve. Extraordinary, yeah, I can live with that. Survived, learned, connected, and somehow managed to keep my humor intact. I'll call that a win. In that chamber, bathed in alien light and humming with the soft energy of advanced technology, I realized that survival had become something far greater than mere endurance. It had become a bridge between worlds, a connection forged in pain, curiosity, humor, and admiration, leaving both of us changed in ways neither biology nor protocol could have predicted. And as we stood there, human and queen, anomaly and observer, I understood that this improbable journey had reshaped everything we thought we knew about resilience, perception, and the unpredictable power of connection.